text-to-voice synthesis provided by Vidnami. Franklin Pierce and the New World. January 25, 2021 by Anna von Reitz. Pierce was the last president to abide by and honor the constitutional limits of the federal government. As such, he was the last president of the Republic. All the others since then have advocated and enforced a centralized top-down government and have substituted foreign-owned and operated state-of-state organizations for our own American state-of-state businesses. In this way, these foreign commercial interests have controlled and abused our people and controlled and abused our other resources for over 100 years. This fraudulent substitution and the semantic deceits, together with the fundamental failure to honor states' rights, has been the issue ever since the Civil War. These men acting as presidents of foreign businesses are not our presidents. Look at Lincoln himself. He joined the bar in 1834. Bar members were prohibited from holding any public office in our government in 1819. Go figure. They were breaching the Titles of Nobility Amendment when they put Lincoln up for office, so you know they were acting in treason against our federal constitution and trying to operate under and substitute the territorial constitution instead. Lincoln was a president of the territorial government, not our federal republic. So this goes all the way back, a pattern of deceit, fraud, breach of trust, and bad faith that treasonously trespassed against the states and the people of this country, beginning with Buchanan's administration. And when Lincoln saw where this was all headed and tried to return control to the actual states and people, they killed him. So quite aside from the coup that is presently being attempted, we have had an ongoing coup against our government ever since the 1856 election. Buchanan breached states' rights and the constitutional limitations of the federal government, and that led directly to the Civil War. Lincoln was never qualified to enter the office of President of our Federal Republic and was President of the territorial government operating under the Constitution of the United States of America instead of our American Federal Constitution issued in 1787, the Constitution for the United States of America. Lincoln never had a quorum of the states to conduct any form of valid federal government, so all he could possibly be doing is exactly what I have told you from the beginning, operating the British territorial United States government instead. The British version of the Constitution never included the prohibition against bar attorneys, so Lincoln could serve under that but never under our actual federal Constitution. From this first deceit and fraud against the states and the people of this country, all the other loathsome betrayals in breach of trust have arisen. The popes knew this, and the archbishops were not at all surprised when this topic came up for discussion. They even had their own name for our actual federal constitution. They call it the original equity contract, and they knew they had breached it, too. Their attitude was, "What do you want? How can we buy you off?" It was clear that we were not the first Americans to track it down and visit them, just the first that had all the facts and provenance and could not be bought off. So the popes knew and did nothing and acted in gross breach of trust. And forget the Queen's government or Westminster having any shame. Those snakes were even oilier than the clergy. They didn't want to discuss their special relationship with the U.S., nor did they care to discuss their ongoing military occupation of our country and their substitution of territorial state-of-state governments for our own governments. In fact, as soon as we mentioned these matters in letters to the Queen and Lord Mayor, we became the targets of successive hit squads trying to murder us by various means. But we have been miraculously protected, and I guess they got sick of losing so many of their top operatives. Long story short, yes, President Franklin Pierce, who left office in 1856, instead of being elected that year, was the last loyal president of the American Federal Republic. All the others have been either British rats or Papist rats. And that is the God's honest truth of the matter, all the way up to the election of Donald Trump, who against all odds got elected in spite of both the Brits and the Papists. And now you can see why both sides of the aisle, and both political parties, the Dems representing the Papists and the Republicans representing the Brits, hated and feared Trump, because he wasn't one of them. He was just a plain old American. They knew that when and if he understood what they had pulled here, they'd be dead meat. And that is how I interpret Hillary Clinton's comment, "We will all hang, if Trump gets elected." In view of the shameful way these people have betrayed this country and decimated generations of innocent Americans, I can only see that as a just and fitting end of this long and bloody chapter of our history, to hang those responsible as a warning to all others thus criminally inclined to commit high treason. But even if we make the effort to correct and to remove these pirates and realize our true history, we still have to restore and reconstruct the missing pieces of our American government. Our state assemblies composed of declared Americans are already in session. I hope that everyone reading this makes haste to join your proper assembly and sort yourselves out appropriately. Americans, join your state assemblies. Federal civil servants and their dependents, join your municipal assemblies. Military and territorial citizens and dependents, join your district assemblies. Americans who are acting in the capacity of Americans need to go to www.theamericanstatesassembly.net, and begin rebuilding and restoring your lawful government. Separate according to the guidelines given above, and don't be confused or try to intermix the assembly groups. Doing so would undermine the ability of all the assemblies to function properly or get anything done. Going forward, your assemblies will be a fundamental way to communicate and to receive help and services, so it is in everyone's best interests to peaceably and consciously assemble as shown above.